girls yell daddy in porn all the time, why do guys get weird every time I start screaming mum? Hi! Welcome to the inward-facing scream that is 2020. My name is Reuben Kaye, actress, model, and the only man who goes to the sperm bank to make a withdrawal. It's episode 12 and we're still on the air. The only reason I haven't been cancelled is because there's a few things slightly more pressing than cancelling me. I mean, I'm definitely on the list, just not a priority at the moment. Welcome to Unwind, the guided meditation at the end of the world. The only guided meditation with a wine pairing. And tonight, we're asking the big questions. Namely, how am I still alive? And more importantly, why? And it's a big one this week. There's a lot of things to get off my chest and also a little off my back as well. Well, 2020 is still going despite public demand, but the tide is slowly turning as out of the Black Lives Matter protest, we see the glimmer of actual change on the horizon. People have changed their stock response of crazy times we're in, or it's like we're in a movie, to this is an exciting time. Cities and states in America are listening, even if the man in charge of the country continues to operate his Twitter account like Nero's fiddle. Which begs the question, does anyone else smell smoke? Or have I just run out of lube? Spoiler alert, it's both. In other news, lockdown restrictions are slowly lifting. Actually, I have a live gig at the end of this week. This is better than Prozac. It's better than approval. It's better than receiving sexual favours without the obligation of reciprocation. Of course, in the UK and America, restrictions are staying, and in the UK's case, the rules are changing every day with the predictability and clarity of a meerkat doing calligraphy. Masks are mandatory. You can meet 10 people in a park, you can't meet 3 people in your house. If you have sex, you can't kiss, and you cannot have sex with someone outside your own household. This last one makes a lot of sense, actually, coming from the Tories. Just take a look at the British monarchy. They're so inbred they might as well be Cocker Spaniels. In fact, we're still unsure if Princess Eugenie isn't actually a whippet in a hat. So let's move on to the star of the show, and that is the wine. This red Panadol, like myself, has also been trampled by the worn, calloused feet of an unwashed Greek fisherman. But, to be honest, I paid extra for that. And Nikos was very tender. Is that a toenail? Tonight's wine, the tasting notes say it's like the screams of lambs as they're slowly slaughtered. And it tastes like the screams of lambs as they're slowly slaughtered. This wine is hard, unforgiving, and bitter, and yet I keep putting it in my mouth, because why stop the hobby of a lifetime? By now, you bitches know the drill. This is a guided meditation. Let's get zen, motherfuckers. And in the words of Mahatma Gandhi, if you're on PrEP, we don't need condoms, just come in me. I'm the one you've chosen to lead you through to inner peace and or renal failure, because I've experienced both when I did what all white people do and took ayahuasca at a music festival and found out that I was indeed the center of the universe. So get into a place you feel safe. I have a gas oven, so I like to rest my head against the railings in there. It's just so cozy and smells like home. Ignore the screams of your children as they bother you with cries for attention or food. Take the shouting partner saying sweet nothings like, I'm taking the kids, don't contact me, or your family telling you your drinking has affected me in the following ways, and just put it in a box. And breathe in and out, because that's how it goes. And allow your mind to do a Trump and leave the building. It's time to do some emotional cleansing as we look at the negative in the world, and with fortitude, love, and an iron will that could crack a coconut, tell it to fuck right off. Let's start off lightly, shall we? White gay men on Grindr are offering gay men of colour their respect, support, and more importantly, their white mouths. Messages of, I see you, I support you, I am listening, and I'm so sorry about what's going on right now, are being followed swiftly by, during these times, I should come over and give you whatever you want sexually. Please use my white mouth. That's an actual quote. That's right. Apology BJs to the black community are now a thing because of course they are. White gay men on Grindr, why are you such messy, messy bitches? Only a white gay man could take the issue of systematic racism and generations of oppression, cut off its midriff, put it in a pair of Daisy Dukes, make it talk in a baby voice, and try to make it sexy. It's the Halloween costume literally no one asked for, but has its own Instagram account anyway. This is not how you help during these times, but it's also not helping. And so I say to the faux woke, come hungry white dudes offering support, hope, and a mouthful of apology semen, fuck off, but also cheers. And also, as a side note, gay Jews hurt too, and my address can be found in my bio. Let's go to England, London, and the EDL. If you're not aware, the English Defence League is a self-styled, semi-militarised group of pasty white nationalists who believe in white supremacy, the Aryan race, and the ingrained inferiority of any person of colour or Jews. Now, I'm not saying they're Nazis, but if the bratwurst fits, which is also the name of a movie I did in Hamburg in the 90s when I was young and needed the protein. The EDL have responded to the Black Lives Matter protests in exactly the shoddy, ramshackle yet thoroughly sinister way you'd expect, with their own rickety-rack, amateurish, drunken, embarrassing attempts at a riot, all in the name of protecting London's statues from being torn down. They did this by surrounding the statue of Winston Churchill and throwing Hitler salutes, or as I call it, the gang sign of oppression, and then rioting at police who were there to protect the statue as well. Oh, and in case you were wondering, the Black Lives Matter protests they were there to protest against, the reason for all this, was cancelled. So if you haven't quite grasped the situation, the Nazis who say they're not Nazis, who claim they're defending England from black people and Jews, stood around the statue of an incredibly racist man who stopped the Nazis from invading England while making Nazi salutes to protest a protest about police brutality that was cancelled, and then attacked the police who were there to protect the statue. What an Escher drawing of idiocy, a bouillabaisse of stupidity, and well, may we say, God save the Queen, or at least just save this one. Because at this point, my British passport might as well be an inside joke that nobody wants to get. And breathe in. And fuck off. Aussie Prime Minister, unwind favourite and the malignant polyp of Australian politics, Scott Morrison, has responded to the Australian arm of the Black Lives Matter protests by stating irrefutably that there was no slavery in Australia, which is about as ridiculous a statement as saying there was no slavery in Australia. If you didn't know, Australia was built on the systematic eradication, massacre, indentured servitude, and intentional breeding out of its First Nations people. Add to that a lovely process called blackbirding, where hundreds of thousands of South Sea Islanders were persuaded forcefully or kidnapped to work on farms on the mainland for no wages for white owners. After an expected backlash, Morrison has clarified his comments by allowing experts to admit that the conditions were slave-like, and that the Indigenous workers were treated like slaves by the people who owned them, which is an amazing feat. To say the words slave and owner so many times while trying desperately not to say slavery. It wasn't slavery, just very much like it. So much like it that it was in fact slavery. It's like seeing a house on fire and saying that's not a fire, it's mostly house. Scott Morrison, you are the leader of a country with a dark history and a huge responsibility. You need to impose drastic police reform. We all need to pay compensation and rent, and there needs to be protection and land rights given over. But I know you won't hear this, as you have broken not just records, but also physics by having your head shoved not just in the sand, but up your own ass as well. Breathe in and fuck off. Continuing on with the great southern continent, Australia is showing its true blue Aussie colours by valuing the great tribute to fragile masculinity that is sport over common sense, by allowing more than 2,000 people to gather to watch a football match, yet not opening theatres, while condemning the Black Lives Matter protests in Sydney and Melbourne as a flagrant disregard of public safety. You pricks. Of course you'd value sport over art or the fight against systemic racism. How fucking typical, sad and unsurprising. Breathe in and fuck off. Well, I've run out of this. Alright, let's move on. Poland is continuing its reputation as Europe's homophobic uncle by legislating against its LGBTQ plus citizens and calling them enemies of the state and the old favourite, pedophiles who prey on children. This comes as Poland is rocked by another child abuse and rape scandal in the Catholic Church. And, yep, that's good. Given the heavy link between church and state in Poland, and given that this is an election year for the ruling Conservative Party, it makes sense to blame the homosexuals of Poland for being a threat to kids, because when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, the guilty party always blames someone else entirely who wasn't even in the room. The only problem is that the cookie jar in this case is an altar boy. The ruling conservative hardline Christian party in Poland is called the Truth and Justice Party. No, nothing sinister there. That seems totally legit. Oh, they dress in all in black and condone public beatings and outright racism? That tracks. Several regions in Poland have declared themselves to be LGBTQ plus free zones, and pride parades across the country are turning into bloodbaths, with queer people being beaten, abused and killed. This is all supported by the government and the church. The LGBTQ people of Poland need our help. This week, I am highlighting petitions for Polish LGBTQ plus support, as well as support for Black and POC trans charities. And I'll be making a substantial donation from the Unwind earnings this week. So to Poland and the Truth and Justice Party, breathe in and fuck off. And breathe out. And as you breathe out, allow the hate and sadness to leave your body. Watch it walk out the door like every man I've ever trusted. And now that you're just an empty husk, allow me to do what I allowed the Croatian rugby team to do to me last summer. Allow me to fill you with goodness. It's time for a round of cheers for all the good in the world. Nickelodeon announced in a tweet celebrating Pride Month last week that SpongeBob SquarePants, a 28-year-old single, sassy, sartorially snappy sea sponge with only one male friend who's a starfish, is queer. Yay! This prompted people to search SpongeBob gay on Google instead of SpongeBob is gay, because quarantine has made us so thirsty that we will literally go apeshit over the sexuality of a cartoon loofah and entirely forget how grammar works. I, for one, am thrilled to welcome SpongeBob SquarePants to the LGBTQ plus community, if only because he has so many holes and he is incredibly absorbent. Welcome, and cheers, SpongeBob. In the rest of the world, it seems the Pope, Band-Aids, Ben & Jerry's and NASCAR have all made statements and put considerable efforts towards supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, with the Pope throwing his support behind the protests and possibly swaying the support Trump has from Catholics America-wide. Band-Aids has finally made their products in a variety of inclusive skin shades, and Ben & Jerry's have continued their stance as vehemently anti-racists. And NASCAR has banned the Confederate flag from their events. Thank you, NASCAR. You're late to the party, but anyone's welcome as long as they bring a bottle. So, just so you're clear, the Pope, a car race, an ice cream brand, and Band-Aids have all done more in this week for the world than the leaders of America, the UK, and Australia combined. So to Ben & Jerry's, Band-Aids, and I can't believe I'm saying this, to NASCAR and the Pope? Cheers and thank you. New Zealand is corona-free. That's right, New Zealand, the country from which we stole Russell Crowe, the pavlova and the flat white, has totally and completely abolished the coronavirus. It turns out that instead of stealing shit celebrities, baked egg cakes and basic bitch coffee, we should have been stealing strong leadership styles, early and clear action plans, and an overall willingness to actually fucking listen to experts. Add to that the government has announced a $175 million package to boost the arts and creative sector, and Jacinta Ardern, you may be the only woman to turn me heterosexual for a full 4.5 minutes before I slingshot back to cock. The fact that she has done all of this in her first term and with a newborn is quite frankly stunning. So to the Prime Minister of New Zealand, cheers. Son of a bus driver, current London mayor, and my personal favourite, Sadiq Khan, is setting up a commission to ensure the British capital's monuments reflect its diversity. A commission that could see more statues of racists being removed from public places. The commission will review statues, murals, street art, street names, and other memorials and consider which legacies should be celebrated. It's certainly not as fun as toppling them over and rolling them into the river willy-nilly, but it's very much the right thing to do. Mayor Sadiq Khan is basically the calm and understanding dad, teaching their effeminate son woodwork, saying, I see what you're doing and I understand why. Let's make this birdhouse together, son, and make it fabulous. It also means London will soon be filled with empty plinths, because the United Kingdom was not built on handshakes and hugs. It was built on slavery, thievery, war, and murder. This could be a wonderful opportunity for the City of London to help give voice and representation to those throughout history who need it, and give support to the arts community. So, to the Commission, monuments that reflect diversity, and most importantly, Sadiq Khan, cheers. Dr. Kathy Sullivan, the first woman to walk in space, has also become the first woman to travel to the deepest known point on the ocean floor, the Mariana Trench, which is also my new drag name. Here at Unwind, we love a high, and we're no stranger to a low. So we have full respect to a woman who has traversed to the extremes of both. So to Dr. Kathy Sullivan, cheers! The Bank of America has pledged $1 billion to help fight racial inequality over the next 4 years, with funds going to jobs, training, small business support and housing, but will add a new emphasis on health services for communities of colour. $100 million will support its non-profit partners across 90 communities, and $250 million will assist with lending to the smallest and minority-owned businesses through its support to community development, financial and minority depository institutions. Apple, Facebook and Verizon are also pledging $10 million each to support civil rights groups. Now, let's not pretend that these companies are good, but as my mother used to say, you don't have to swallow, but if you want the cash, you better make it look like you swallowed. So with a warm, dribbling mouthful of gratitude, I say, cheers. And we're back in the room. We're a part of the world, and our meditation is over. Thank you, and namaste. This week, we are seeing the fruits of the Black Lives Matter protest in changes throughout the USA. But there is a small contingent of allies who are feeling exhausted and run down by how much work it's taken. I'm personally hearing a lot of, it's too big a problem, or I've done so much and I'm emotionally drained. Well, welcome to the reality for people of colour. Imagine how tired they are after centuries of fighting. And we've only been in the fight for 3 weeks. So this is the time for self-care. This is the time to meditate, to recharge, to drink lots of Fiji water even. Who cares about vowels? Do some yoga. Just use all that bullshit we've been sold by the health and wellness industry that we are privileged to afford, quite frankly. Because the heart of this fight is still beating and change is coming. The wave will break, but only if you join the tide. To all the people who are joining the fight, but crying out that the current system is broken, the thing you have to realize is this. The system is not broken. It is a system created by white middle-aged men designed to serve white middle-aged men at the oppression of everyone else. The system isn't broken. The system is working exactly as it was designed to. It is only by luck, chance, and fucking perseverance that women, people of colour, queer people, and all other oppressed minorities have even made it this far. The system was never designed to help us. It was designed to oppress, indenture, and hold us down, whilst making cis, straight, white men more and more wealthy. So we are not trying to fix a broken system. We are trying to build a new, more fair one that serves everyone. And we need your help. Speaking of help, you can donate at my PayPal, which is paypal.me/RRK Entertainment. Think of it as tipping your waitress or your favourite dancer to help her get through med school. Now, I have some bad news, and I say this with a heavy heart. Tonight, episode 12 of Unwind will be our last, at least in this format. After 12 weeks, 3 breakdowns, 1 breakup, and so much red Panadol my insides resemble the floor at an abattoir, tonight will mark the final episode of Unwind as you know it. But don't worry, we're only taking a couple of weeks off to regroup, relax, relapse, prolapse, recover, and work on bringing you a new and exciting concept. In the meantime, I want to thank each and every one of you who has donated, messaged, liked, shared, or just plain watched over the last 12 weeks. It has meant the world to all of us here at Unwind. Hi! Forgive that first year cinema studies jump cut we just did, but my ability to operate a camera is comparable to Mike Tyson trying to do simple maths. I'd like to take a moment to thank the Unwind family, all the brilliant people who've made Unwind what it is. At this point also, I should apologise, the captions will cease, but there will be a transcript below. First up, Alys Mcdonough from Epod Central, who has captioned the last 11 episodes, and Joe Hinds, who captioned this episode number 12 at breakneck speed. These two beautiful people have managed to stare at this face for hours without throwing up or committing mass murder. And to you two I say, cheers. Next up, my writing partner, Andy Ballack. I wish Andy could be here today with us to say goodbye. But this is a fairly accurate representation of, if not his work ethic, then certainly his skin texture. Next, my brave, incredible, and fearless producer, Jax Musa. That tracks. Jacqueline Aroha Musa has built Unwind into the behemoth of poor life choices and liver failure that you've all come to love and cherish. And together, they are the heart and soul of Unwind, whereas I am merely the sack of loose skin and medical staples they wrap it in every night. All of the people involved in Unwind would like to extend their thanks and their love to all of you beautiful people out there in the dark. So tonight, we say this. Cheers. Breathe in. Fuck off. It's your pandemic. And we'll see you very soon.
Oh please, Mother Teresa never used birth control. Welcome to my downward spiral. Wouldn't it be nice to be in a coma through this? I'm an actress, a singer, and an award-winning cry for help. Homosexuality's not a thing anymore. I'm the embodiment of gay culture. This is the new normal.